Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore Positive. I am back on the grid. So busy that I haven't even managed to shave around here, but I will by the time we get the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. I will have the Harlem Globetrotters, a handful of these left, but we are going to get those really, really cool Maryland State art tickets out. I'll have those by next Friday because Roz is going to get them in my hot little hands. Since I got back from South America and I got sick, and then I got my wife sick, and then we led the walkout on Trump over the weekend. So we had things going on around here. Next Friday, Lexington Market. We're going to be at Fadley's. Stephen L. Miles. We're going to talk about it next Friday. I don't think Steve's ever been on my show, so I'm looking forward to having him on. He loves sports, loves me, and it's been too long, and we're both getting old, and we need a crab cake. So that's next Friday at Fadley's. All of it brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. GBMC, keep me healthy. I do have it's my first checkup in like 20 years since I've been married. Having a real checkup, like a real doctor at the end of the month, because I'm not worried about me, but everybody else is. So GBMC keeping me healthy, and I'm appreciative of that. Also, our friends at Farnan and Dermer for all of our sports coverage. If you're on the WNST tech service, you got the breaking news first about the Shane Boz signing. That is all brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy, and we are thrilled for all of our springtime sponsors and all of our friends. And when baseball gets going, and I'm going to welcome Joel Poiley in. He's down in Tampa, but he's one of us. He's a Baltimore guy, Pikesville guy. He's been a longtime sports writer. He's written a book on Tom Maddie. And was friends with Tom Maddie. But resides in a place where the taxes are better and the weather's better. The baseball might be better here, though, than it was going to be down there, Joel. Happy opening day, happy new season. And I just keep saying this, and it's a little bit of a pinch me. On Sunday after the first weekend series, I started texting all of my baseball nerd friends, which you've now become included in that. Mark Messina's coming on, Alan's coming on. This ABS thing, and you're a little bit older than me, not much, but a little bit older than me. This has been revolutionary, and it's they're going to have to give him three. I don't think two's enough. I think three is probably the right number for how many challenges they would need during a game to make it more interesting, keep it more fair. But they've changed the game, and I don't know, dude. 35 years on radio here for me, and you covered the Rays, you covered baseball, you coach a little league team down there. How many things have ever come along to make baseball better, where they've really improved it?
First off, always great to be back. Glad you're feeling better. I tell you, dude, you know I'm old school, but I actually like this, man. It's just brought a whole new level of excitement for the fans who, for years were dragging with the slow play and everything. I mean, I have some thoughts about it, and I wouldn't even call them cons. Uh, but the pros are great. I mean, it doesn't take up much time. It's immediate, and it's almost like you're watching Monty Hall. What's behind door number three, because you're waiting for that immediate reaction. And I tell you, I know I crank on today's batters, about striking out too much. I got to give them credit, man. They know the strike zone pretty damn well. And when they're, challenging pitches, which then come up where it just caught the bottom of the box, that's pretty cool to see this stuff.
Well, I said to Luke, it's like watching Keno at Costas. I'm going to Costas for some crabs tonight.
Yeah.
It's like watching the ball pop up. It's, and watching it on television exclusively, thanks to Mark Fine and Katie Griggs, I get to see this. And I feel like that's a ball, that's a strike, whatever it is, and that's going to get overturned. I felt that way just in watching the first 27 innings of it. But Sunday afternoon was really hooked me because my wife's sick as a dog. I'm finally feeling a little bit better. We're sitting here watching the game. Obviously, the manager getting thrown out, arguing about whether the pitcher touched his cap or not the right way or quick enough.
Right.
This is where I was. I haven't talked about the ABS system. I mean, Luke and I and Alan, we skated it a little bit. It cost us last month. I watched some spring training baseball, but there's no stakes in spring training baseball, which that's one of the things that's the joy and the pain of spring training baseball is like, it doesn't really matter. And there is no who won or we're trying to win. It's moment to moment. In real baseball, once this thing started on Thursday, I felt like a dog and I was watching. Saturday afternoon, it was the shadows and
Yeah.
the strikeouts, all of the things that we don't like about baseball, and they lost. Uh, but Sunday, that game there had drama, and I thought from the beginning, if you would have asked me about this a week ago, Joel, the
Hmm.
old guy in me would say, oh, they're just trying to hustle out the umpire. They're going to get rid of the umpire. They're going to save some money. They're going to, piss the umpires off. They're going to
Right.
not need them. They're going to show that they're not needed anymore.
Right.
Au contraire, my dude, it reminded me of the time I went to Cuba in
Hmm.
'99. I saw the Cuban World Series the night before that Albert Bell, Scott Erickson fiasco down there with Castro and Angelos. I
Hmm.
went to that same ballpark the night before,
Right.
and they played a World Series game there. And have you ever been to a Latin American baseball game, Joel? Have you ever been to
No,
Dominican?
have not.
So you know that when the fans get angry, they whistle.
Oh yeah.
You'll it sounds like psycho. It's like
Well, I've been to games in Miami, so I've heard
so
that.
you've heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
But Miami doesn't have any vibe. This was a packed stadium where the manager came out, and in Latin culture it's like a peacock. You come out and it's like a bullfight. You come out and they
Right.
don't throw f, but it's very Lou Pinella, very Earl Weaver, stuff you don't
Hmm.
see in baseball so much anymore. So much. It's a little
Yeah.
embarrassing. And who the hell can even understand Albernaz if he's out there arguing? I wouldn't even be. I need a translator, man. Like he said something on the dace the other day. I swear to you, I rewound it three
All right.
times and I still don't know what he said. So, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, I'm in Cuba that night,
Hmm.
and the manager came out, and it was yelling, arguing back and forth. F you, I'm bad, you're out. Yeah, yeah. All of this conflict. And Lord knows
Yeah.
I had enough conflict on my Facebook page over the weekend because the guy running the companies, running the country, is a criminal, and a pedophile, and literally a war criminal. But so
That's
the conflict part
right.
of the umpire now, if they were to tonight just say we're done with umpires, we don't need them, we're just going to put the system in, and a ball's going to be a ball and a strike's going to be a strike.
Right.
It from a user ability, it would be so much less interesting than it is now. They can't take the umpires away now. And I know that that was the first concern. And if you asked me a week ago, I would have
Right.
said they're trying to get rid of the umpires. No, 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 no. Now they can't get rid of the umpires because they've created
Right.
something we're going to be talking about every night, every pitch, fifth inning, seventh inning, when they're
Yeah.
out of them, when they have them, when the
Yeah.
challenge happens. It has created conflict, and it has created more, it's made it more interesting. That's the word I want to just interesting.
It's like a perfect middle ground between full like robo umps and no review at all. You know what I mean? So the point you made about not needing the umps, because I was thinking about this, knowing I was coming on, I made a few notes, and I think you and Luke may have touched about it in your other segment. It's going to out the bad umps in terms of the ones who are really bad calling balls and strikes. Like a guy like Ron Luciano, as an example, he was not good behind the plate. Now I know you can't have the same ump back there for a 4 game series every game, but some stuff could, as far as maybe a small negative, some stuff could come up with the umpires union, because at some point it's going to make a lot of these umps really look bad when a lot of their calls are proven wrong. So,
Well, they've
it's
had that
something.
system in place for a long time. And Joe, you covered sports. Did you ever spend it? I'm sure a lot of umpires live where you live down in Tampa too.
Yeah.
I've never known an umpire in my life, and I've only had one conversation that I even remember with an umpire. It was on an airport shuttle in Cleveland, and it was
Right.
after the spitting incident.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
really within a week or two. It was
Yeah.
a playoff game in '96. I think it was the day Alomar hit the home run. I literally think it was that day when
Yeah.
Alomar hit the home run in the playoffs. I was in an airport shuttle vehicle
Hmm.
with an umpire, and I remember talking to him and thinking, wow, this is like the most arrogant, nasty gym teacher, manly man, man, a man, a man, a man. I'm the man.
Yeah.
He was, and I thought, Well, that's what you'd have to be if you're out there dealing with Lou Piniella and Sparky Anderson and Tommy Lasorda every night. I don't know that the modern umpire is that way. I think they've all had this system in place. I think they've
Right.
all been graded by more than Bowie Kuhn.
Yeah.
These days that they are better at it than we think they are. But what
Hmm.
happened over the weekend with Cora and the Red Sox and getting 9 calls wrong, to your
Yeah.
point, there's going to be a bottom of class like that umpire that got thrown out 2 years ago.
Right.
I don't remember his name. He had a Hispanic name. That he was
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Hernandez. He was no good, and they got rid
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah. Angel. Yeah. Yeah.
Angel, they're gonna wind up pruning the tree as far as. And
Yeah.
Leonard Raskin had a great point, and I never really thought about this. If you're good at calling balls and strikes, it means you have vision and you're just good at that.
Right.
Why wouldn't they have the best ones do that and have two-man rotations and have the first and second base umpire just be a different job, like
Right.
a referee or a back judge or like a
Right.
linesman and a referee in hockey? They're two different jobs.
Right.
That calling strikes is its own job. Let's get the best of the best to do it.
Right.
Agree with that wholeheartedly, but I think it's beautiful that you and I are talking about it because I think it really has made the game better. I'm going to enjoy baseball more from today moving forward because of this. And I realized that on Sunday, and I thought, holy hell, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm
Yeah.
old and jaded like you, and I'm get off my lawn, and things were always better before. They made baseball better over the weekend. It almost makes me want to cry.
Well, to hear the fan reaction, it's like they're on the edge of their seat. I mean, I think it's one of the best innovations they've put in the game in a while, to be honest about it. I mean, as far as the umps moving around, look, being behind the plate is far more demanding than you can have controversial calls at the bases, but it's a tougher day at work when you're behind the plate, mentally, physically. Um, but yeah, I think they should, if they had a system in place like that, Ness, maybe you don't even need ABS because you're letting the best plate and ball and strike umps work those games. Maybe you're having less arguments, and they are better because the ones that are bad obviously affect the game in such a negative way and affect the outcome. But I mean, in terms
But if
of
you're that bad, it's going to happen like it happened over the weekend. They're just going to keep saying you're going to touch their hat, and they're going to get the call right.
my concern again is it's not really a negative, it's just a point of discussion. If one of those calls happens on the last pitch of the game, whether it's walking in a guy with the bases loaded or having him strike out, I'd hate to see a game decided that way, where a computer decided the game. That is something I've been thinking about, just watching it over the weekend.
And that will happen.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that will conjure up some more maybe negative context about it. But for right now, I think it's a really good innovation. But some other little things I've been thinking about. There's so much emphasis now on pitch counts. If it forces a pitcher to throw maybe 4 or 5 more pitches in a game, you and I know that really shouldn't mean anything. But if it's the difference between him getting the yank in the fifth inning after 70 pitches instead of Albie letting him come out for the sixth inning because he still has a few bullets left in his arm, but maybe he's hit the 75 pitch mark in the fifth inning because he had to throw some extra pitches. You might see a little bit of that. I mean, I don't know if that's a negative. It's just something to keep an eye on.
Well, I think everybody your age and my age would think all the umpires have rabbit ears and they're all hardened, prickly kind of guys, and they don't want to be told they're wrong. I think the younger umpires don't necessarily have the rabbit ears in that
Yeah,
way. And I
yeah,
think that the game has now moved to a point where this is going to be ubiquitous. This is going to be the way it is.
yeah.
And I can't think of many things. The only thing that makes the game better is when you have a chance to win. Joel Poiley is our guest. He's written a book on Tom Maddie. He is a Tampa Bay sports writer in semi retirement, but is still joins us and likes to talk sports all the time. Listen, this is a year where they have a chance to win. I've been on
Yeah.
the air 35 years here. When did you leave here?
November of '86.
How many years have that? Is that Oriole pennant behind you? How many of these years have we had in 40 years where we can say but we're not even in April yet. We're still in March as we record this.
Yeah,
That they're going to be a competitive baseball team this year, and I think you and I knew that 6-8 weeks ago. We know
right,
that now. Now that they're on the field, now that Eflin's in the rotation, Kittredge is going to come back. Looks like
right,
Holiday's going to be back. They're going everybody but Westberg. They're going to get some guys back. Aiken's another issue too,
right,
but the bullpen is suspect until it's not. Nunez looks nice for a minute, right? Whatever. We saw how
right.
suspect it was on Sunday. The defense is they're going to kick the ball around,
Yeah.
but they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be good. And I haven't been able to say that week one. Usually it's like, who are the Ravens drafting right now? I told Luke, I'm like, take a
Yeah.
powder on that Ravens ish. We'll come back in 2 weeks and get to that because
Yeah.
they might play 650, 700 ball here against these bad teams next couple weeks.
I mean, it's sad to think it's been 43 years since they've been in the World Series. But other than maybe that 5-year run that Buck had, when they got better under him from like 12 to 16, it's been a lot of crappy baseball. There's no doubt about that. Um, I think I texted you after I heard the preview between you and Luke. I'm not quite buying the Kool-Aid as much as you guys are. I'll hit it right off the top. I'm figuring like 85 wins and marginal playoff because some of the reasons you're predicting, but they'll hit the ball nest, but they don't have a lot of team speed. At least for now, I don't see them great at manufacturing runs. And the axiom is as old as time in baseball, but you saw it on opening day. I mean, good pitching. I mean, Joe Ryan's an ace. Good pitching will shut down good hitting, and I'm afraid they just don't have enough when they get in those games, like Saturday. And that's an outlier, maybe because of the shadows and all. Though I didn't see the game because I was at a wedding, but I was still shocked when I saw 16 strikeouts. But uh,
That won't be the
yeah,
only time they strike out 16 times this year, though.
yeah, I mean, look, it's good to see O'Neill, and I've been all over him. General Soreness, hit that bomb yesterday because that got him started. But I'm concerned about the lack of team speed, and the lineup is still kind of clunky to me. And this is based on maybe when Westberg gets back, and that's a whole other concern because they're still not giving us a date. And I still think he's their best clutch hitter. Not Adley, Gunner, when he's going well, is probably their best overall athlete. But in clutch situations, at least for now, I like seeing Westberg up. But, I mentioned Adley. I saw a couple spring training games, and I always go late because I like seeing more of the regulars. So I saw a game like the second week of March and then the third week of March. He's gotten that fall back in the dugout thing off balance out of his swing, and he looks a lot better. To me, I mean, Alonso, no question, key. O'Neill being healthy, we can talk about health, but you look at a guy like Adley when he's right, he could bat anywhere from 1 to 5 in that lineup. Now they have him batting 4, which surprised me when I saw that, opening day. But he delivered, and I guess Albernaz saw enough in the spring, although you can't always put a lot of
Man,
credence
he's
into
such a
that.
special talent, Rutschman. If they could just get it right with him, it's
I'll
been
take
2
20
years.
dingers, 80 RBIs, 270 and 75 walks, but he could be a lot better than that. And so I think he's a big key. I mean, so that's just looking at the offense. Defensively, you're all over it. However, they won yesterday's game by 2 runs. They made 2 good cutoffs that cut off bigger innings. I mean, I know one of them ended up being a 3-run double, but potentially they stopped 2 runs with those proper cutoffs. So I was glad to see that. But
Henderson threw the wrong base at one point. That
yeah,
drove me crazy.
yeah, yeah, me too. But yeah, I mean, you can't. I think they're going to get in a lot of games like this, unfortunately, because of their pen, and you just can't always count on scoring 8 runs.
Well, and the
You know?
bullpen's going to.
Oh, that's a whole other issue.
I mean, yeah, every night between 8:15 and 9 o'clock,
Yeah,
bad things are going to happen to them with the bullpen, and
yeah,
whether they beat their way out of it or whether they can turn a double play or.
right.
But the bullpen's not going to be nearly as good as the starters, and this length that you and me and Jim Palmer want for the starters that isn't reality. But
Yeah,
getting into the sixth inning is going to be different than getting into the fifth inning. I think,
it
at
is.
least in the early time year, and I'm talking about back end of the rotation too with Eflin
Right.
and I thought of Boz as back end of the rotation until they gave him all this money.
I know. I mean, I've seen him down here. The potential is quite good, maybe even better than Gray Rod, which, if you want to equate him subbing for Gray Rod, who may never be healthy again. But he has games like that where for an inning or two, he'll back off his fastball or his curveball won't work. But what bothered me yesterday was that Albie didn't leave him in longer than he should have. When you're using 7 pitchers in a game, remember the last time I was on, I talked about that human theory. Look what happened. I mean, we know Wells will be better than that, but he had an off day. Geraldo could have been, jitters or whatever. Out of those 7, 2 guys almost cost them the game. And I was reading something, I think it was about Grant Wolfram, where Drew French, the pitching coach, was talking about how it's more psychological with these guys than physical, particularly the role they're in, high leverage versus, earlier in games. And the point he made is what I've been saying all along, although he didn't say it this way. When you're using that many pitchers in a game, you're just increasing the likelihood that a couple of them are not going to be on. And like you and Luke were talking, man, that's it's not blowing out your bullpen the second game of the season, but 7 pitchers that early. I mean, that's telling to me that, I mean, they'll get Aiken back, they'll get Kittredge back. Cano looked better. Remember, I've talked about his arm slot. It's better. Did you see that strikeout of Buxton? That ball tumbled down like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So hopefully he's corrected that. But yeah, it's going to be an issue. So I would like to see the starters get into the sixth, more often, and maybe even the seventh.
Joel Poiley is our guest. He is down at Tampa Bay. He is. How's your Maddie book doing? I think of you. I think as the Tom Maddie author and all that. But
Yeah.
that's what you get. You can hold it up. You got it. I
I
know you're gonna
got it.
have it.
I
You
have
damn, you
it.
have last man standing. There you go. I have it too,
Uh,
but I didn't bring it in with me today.
it's doing well. I'll know like official numbers. I get a royalty statement / check in May, but like as of last year, I mean numbers really don't mean that much. But the editors and the publisher were happy about it, and I still have people up there pushing it. I mean, John Zeman's been great. Other people in the community. So,
I got to
and
get
I
Zeman on. You just thank you. I'm gonna write that down.
yeah,
Get
and
Zeman on.
I sell them. I sold 2 more the other day to the guy that did our taxes. So that was cool.
Well,
But
it's a great
it's
story
doing
because
well.
he was a legend
Doing
here.
well. Yeah, it's doing well. But yeah, and I still keep in touch with Judy. You know that.
Of course, of course. Much love to the Maddie family. I want to make sure I threw that in there before we go back to talk some baseball. So you're not bullish on the Orioles. What's going to go wrong? 85 wins. I think something
Well,
went
here
wrong.
the thing is, it's just too many ifs. Health is always an issue. I do like the depth that Elias established with the pitching staff. I downgraded him from like a B plus to a B when he didn't bring in a top of the rotation guy. I know they're looking at Bradish that way. I'm hoping Rogers continue this ascent to be the next Cliff Lee. I mean, that's what he looked like, and he reminded me of Lee, with that great breaking ball and the ability to spot pitches. And he didn't have his good stuff opening day, but he battled. But I still would have liked to have seen that ace. But people are like questioning, oh, they sent Kramer down. Look, I love Dean, innings eater. Straight up, dude. Eflin's a better pitcher than Kramer, so I didn't have a problem with that. When Eflin's a solid 2 or 3, and to think he pitched with a bad back for the first 10 years of his career, so I'm excited to see what he could. I mean, for him as a number 5, so the rotation depth is good. You got these guys, Povich is still trying to figure it out, but good. He's not in the rotation. I mean, I was thinking you can't even put him in the bullpen because he has no command. So you can't bring a guy in with runners on base and he's spraying pitches all over the zone. So it's just iffy. Can they stay healthy? I mean, can Bradish give you 150 innings? Because they're still going to have to watch him. I'll take a 3.5 ERA from Rogers. Boz, I was surprised at the contract, but it shows a
It's
little.
very speculative, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing on the back of the bubblegum card that screams like we got to have this guy here the next 5
I've
years.
seen him have ace stuff down here, and I've seen him get lit up. So I mean, obviously Elias knows him from high school, and there's that caveat. But um, and Bassett, I think Bassett could be kind of like a diamond in run. Another point I do like about this club, I was reading something in spring training where they were doing cutoffs and they had 20 minutes where they were terrible. And Bassett reamed them out. He said, look, I came this close to a freaking World Series last year. I didn't come here to watch this kind of BS. We're good enough to get back there and make a long run in the playoffs. And then in the middle of that, Alonso says, do it over. And they ran it again for 20 more minutes and it was much crisper. I think that's something that they haven't had. A lot of accountability, maybe. I mean, if everything breaks right, Ness, yeah, they could win 92 or 93 games, but there's a lot of ifs. When O'Neill dove for that ball yesterday, I'm thinking, oh no, did he sprain his shoulder? You're always worried about these guys who are fragile. And like I said, I'm concerned about Westy because they're not giving us a date, and these platelet rich blood injections that they get. I mean, my brother in law is a doctor and a great sports fan, and we talk about this all the time. They rarely have worked on pitchers. Remember, Bradish had one, and he had 8 starts, and it just didn't take. Maybe it's a little easier with a position guy, but he's still throwing the ball during practice, and also he's making almost as many throws as a pitcher. So I'm concerned about that. And we haven't even talked about Holiday, who, I'll give him the benefit. He's 22, but I still don't see 1-1 out of that, and I really don't. And Albie, to me, he's just the second coming right now of Hyde. Remember when they brought Hyde in? He worked with Madden, one of the hot young guys, but they gave him like a 3 or 4 year lead because the team was going to stink. So that is different
It's
now. That
amazing Hyde survived long enough to be a playoff manager.
seriously, and I mean, we'll watch Albie and how he handles the pitching. But like yesterday, he brings in Geraldo, and first pitch, boom, tie game, home run. You just wonder with these guys now. I see it with Cash and a lot of these guys. How much of this is their decision versus what's coming from the front office and all the analytics guys? You wonder. So
I think all of us wonder about that.
yeah. So I like Albie's spirit. He seems a little more like a rah kind of guy. And maybe they need that, maybe they don't. But I think having guys like Alonso and Bassett in the dugout will definitely help. I was glad to see Gunnar get really ticked the other day. Not off to a great start. I like that fire, but there's just too many ifs right now. And if there are going to be a lot of games like yesterday, that's trouble because of the pen. The starting pitching, yes, is better, but I'm concerned that they're going to lose a lot of 4-3, 3-2, 5-4 games when the other team's pitching bullpen anyway is better than ours. So I think they'll be much more competitive, obviously, than last year in the end of 24. But it's kind of like a Missouri thing. You got to show me right now before I'm willing to jump all in.
I also think the bats that they have might feast on late inning pitching and bad relief
I
pitching as
hope so.
well. So that's something I know the Orioles relief pitching is not going to be great on most nights, and they're going to give up some runs. But at least they have capable bats of hitting big flies late in games off of
Yeah.
other bad pitchers. So for that,
I, I hope so. I mean, you saw it yesterday. I mean, I was really glad to see Beavers get that hit. I mean, he lost that ball in the sun. That can happen. But again, I'm worried about their outfield defense. I mean, when I look at a guy like Byron Buxton, I wouldn't have minded them trading for him, or I don't know. I guess maybe he was a free agent. I don't know. They needed another big bat. It ended up being Alonso, and I really do think he'll be great. And maybe he could be this era's version of Frank. that kind of puts them over the
Well, I mean,
top.
Ward hit 30 home runs last year too, so like they've added that. I see that as sort of the Santander replacement in my way, and he
No
also made a nice
question.
play in left field, kept the double away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he got hooked in a little bit on that triple one opening day where I don't think he realized the ball's going to roll around in that corner there. But he
And
came
Buxton's
out
going to run.
but I heard too that he came out the next day and was working with the coaches on an off day. Like to see that. So maybe the athleticism makes up for the lack of speed. But just depending on the long ball when you get in these tight games, you look at a team like Milwaukee. They don't have the power we have, but they play smaller ball. And they're making the playoffs every year. Now they're not good enough to get too deep into the playoffs, but they're there. So I just think there's a lot of ifs right now that I'm just holding back a little bit.
I agree with you. They're station to station. I agree with you. They're going to strike out a lot, but I'm optimistic, more so than Joel Poiley. He is the author of the Tom Maddie book, and he's my friend down in Tampa and a
See that, and everybody
Baltimorean.
thinks you're so damn negative. They just don't listen to you enough.
Yeah, they all need
They,
to listen more, Joel.
they should.
Hey,
They
take
should.
care of yourself. I'll jump back in with you after the draft. We'll get together. Next time we get
Cool.
together, we'll see where the Orioles are. This
Okay.
early schedule of not
I'm
such great
monitoring.
opponents should bode well for them.
Hopefully.
Certainly, it's going to be better than it was last year for that.
I think so. I think so.
We're going to hang in there. Last Man Standing is the book.
Take
Hold
a
it
minute.
up. Tell them where to find it. Where can they buy that book?
Oh, it's all over Amazon, Books a Million, anywhere you would buy it online. It's not in stores, but anywhere online. And they'd actually dropped the price a couple dollars. So there you go.
All right, save a few bucks. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm all for saving a few bucks. Joel Poiley's my guest. My thanks to him. We are getting back after it with the Maryland Crab Cake Tour next Friday. We're going to be at Fadley's at Lexington Market before the Giants game. I will have few Harlem Globetrotter scratch offs. It's been a lucky batch, but I'm also going to get those beautiful new state-inspired artistic expressions. I'm looking forward to that. That's next Friday at Fadley's, the Maryland Crab Cake Tour, presented by our friends at GBMC and Farnan and Dermer. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore positive.